Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go my review of AEW's Dynamite. Starting off the E, and I'm going to go to our first match of the night. It is Orange Cassidy versus Trent Beretta. I thought it was a good match, man, especially to start Dynamite last night. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Cassidy and Beretta, with Cassidy keeping the pace of the match. Cassidy then hits a suplex on Trent Beretta on the outside. Don Callis is here. He comes down. He's on commentary. Orange Cassidy and Trent then both exchange in the middle of the ring. Orange then hits a DDT on Trent Beretta. Trent then gets up, hits a half and half on Orange Cassidy, as well as a pile driver. Trent then rips out the turnbuckle pad, but then Orange Cassidy sends Trent into the exposed turnbuckle. Orange goes for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Orange Cassidy. After the match, Trent Beretta ends up attacking Orange Cassidy, and then Trent hits a pile driver on Orange Cassidy on the steel steps. But hats off to Orange Cassidy for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Kenny Omega segment. Omega is shown sitting in a hospital bed from the attack that he sustained from the Elite. Omega announces that there will be a Anarchy in the Arena match at Double or Nothing, and it will be Team AEW versus the Elite. And so far, the two names that we got after what Omega said last night was that the first two competitors on Team AEW were none other than FTR. They will be joining Team AEW. So again, my initial thought was that we were going to get a Blood and Guts match, but now we are going to get an Anarchy in the Arena match at Double or Nothing later on this month. So definitely looking forward to that match. Moving on from that, we have a Serena Deeb segment. Serena comes down to the ramp. She's interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Serena says that she's excited for her match at Double or Nothing against Tony Storm, and it was a long time coming. Serena also talks about the injuries that she sustained, and the reason why she was out of AEW for quite a while is because she sustained multiple seizures. I think it was the past 12 to 16 months, I think she said. And she was talking about her injuries that she had with her time off in AEW. Serena also says that she will become the AEW Women's Champion after Double or Nothing. Tony Storm comes out. She interrupts Serena Deeb. Tony then says that Serena Deeb is a charity case, and then Deeb quickly attacks Tony Storm. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Mariah May versus Harley Cameron. I thought it was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Mariah May and Cameron, with May keeping the pace of the match. Saraya is ringside. She ends up attacking Mariah May. May and Harley then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with May ultimately hitting a Mayday on Harley Cameron, pins her for the 3, and your winner of the match is Mariah May. After the match, Saraya ends up getting involved in the match by attacking Mariah May. Shirakawa comes down to the ring to attack Saraya and stop the attack from Saraya and Harley Cameron. Moving on from that, we have a Swerve Strickland segment as well as Christian Cage. Swerve mocks Christian. Christian then says that he will become the new AEW World Champion, and that Christian will be taking the belt away from Swerve at Double or Nothing. The Mogul Embassy comes out to the ring after Swerve says that he was not there alone. After that, you see Christian kind of make like a weird face towards the Mogul Embassy, and all of a sudden, at a drop of a hat, man, Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage, and those guys end up attacking Swerve in the middle of the ring, leaving Swerve in the middle of the ring. Mogul Embassy ends up putting Swerve through the announce table on the outside, so it looks like the Mogul Embassy is no longer anymore, and they're going to be doing their own thing now that they attacked Swerve last night. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Jay White versus Rocky Romero. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between Jay White and Romero, with Romero keeping the pace throughout the match. Romero then hits a Hurricane Rana on Jay White on the outside, as well as a running slice bread. Jay White then gets up, hits a Brainbuster on Rocky Romero, as well as a Blade Runner, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Jay White. Hats off to Jay White for getting the win in this matchup. After the match, the Guns ended up attacking Rocky, and then Pac comes down to the ring to stop the attack on Rocky Romero. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a tag team matchup. It is Jericho teaming up with Big Bill versus a bunch of jobbers. This was a glorified squash match. Jericho and Big Bill were keeping the pace throughout the entire match. Big Bill then hits a boss man slam in the middle of the ring, as well as a choke slam. And then Jericho ultimately hits a Judas effect, pins for the 3, And your winners of the match are Jericho and Big Bill. Hats off to Jericho and Big Bill for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Dynamite. It is for the TNT Championship in a no DQ matchup. I thought this was a great match, man. Copeland and King, they really brought it in the main event. Back and forth matchup. Brody was keeping the pace throughout the match. Copeland then hits Brody with a chair shot. Copeland then hits a DDT on Brody King on the chair off the apron. Copeland and Brody then both exchange in the middle of the ring, but Copeland goes for a spear on Brody, but Brody counters it with a pile driver. Copeland then gets up, hits a Death Valley driver off the apron on Brody. It looked absolutely brutal. Copeland then hits a spear through the ropes on Brody through the table on the outside. Pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Adam Copeland. After the match, Brody quickly attacks Copeland. O'Reilly comes down to the ring to save Copeland, and it looks like we might be seeing O'Reilly versus Copeland in the near future for the TNT Championship. Moving on from that, we have a Mercedes Moné segment. Mercedes talks about Double or Nothing and that the fact that Willow had injured her at an event in Japan, or New Japan Strong, I should say, and that this is the match at Double or Nothing will be her first in-ring match for AEW. So definitely looking forward to that because it's been long overdue. And after that, we have the Elite. The Elite answer Kenny Omega's challenge. Okada tells Omega to get well soon. Matt Jackson then mocks Tony Khan. Matt Jackson then talks about attacking Omega last week. The Elite end up accepting the Anarchy in the arena matchup. After that, FTR are here. They are joined by Eddie Kingston. And then they are also joined by none other than Bryan Danielson. And it looks like Team AEW will be FTR, Eddie Kingston, and Bryan Danielson taking on the Elite at Double or Nothing. A couple of things I want to say about Dynamite last night, man, and I really want to talk about this. And I kind of wanted to started this off with the podcast, but I figured I'd go into more detail with how I felt about AEW last night with you guys. I thought AEW last night, besides the Elite stuff, was trash. And that might be a hot take for a lot of people. I thought the show sucked last night, man. And I really don't know what's going on, to be honest with you, as far as what direction AEW is going towards. I mean, I understand the storyline between the Elite and Tony Khan, and it's the best storyline going right now. But there are so many people right now within AEW that are sorely missed on that roster that it's just incredible. And it goes to show you how much of these men and women that have been out, how much lineage they have and how much importance they have within AEW. I'm talking about Adam Cole, MJF, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Darby Allin. Like, these people are sorely missed within AEW, and it's showing immensely. You know, we saw Adam Cole a couple weeks ago with the whole thing with Wardlow, and then we haven't seen Adam Cole or, you know, anybody from the Undisputed Kingdom since then. So, you know, these individuals are being sorely missed. Now, I understand, and my whole premonition about this Elite versus AEW thing is I thought it was going to take place at Blood and Guts. Now, I'm not opposed to seeing FTR and, you know, Eddie Kingston, you know, be the members of Team AEW. And I'm not really 100% opposed to Bryan Danielson being a part of this team. The issue that I do have with it is, where is Adam Page? To me, it would have been, if I was, you know, fantasy booking this matchup, even though I did not want another Anarchy in the arena match because I think it's just a stale concept for AEW. If I was booking this match, I would have Adam Page a part of this matchup. Especially because there's already legitimate heat. Well, I wouldn't say legitimate heat, but there's already a storyline right there between the Young Bucks and Adam Page due to the fact that they fired Adam Page per storyline. So, to me, Adam Page coming back into the fold and putting him a part of this match, even though he has a lot of history with the Anarchy in the arena match, why not slot him into this matchup with having Page, Kingston, and FTR versus Okada, Jack Perry, and the Young Bucks? I think, to me, that would have made a lot more sense than Bryan Danielson, because to me, Bryan Danielson really wasn't, you know, he wasn't really messing around with the Elite. You know, he just had that great dream match with Will Ospreay, and the storyline was there. You know, after that matchup, storyline based that, you know, Danielson got injured with the, you know, the Tyler driver that Ospreay hit on Bryan Danielson, and then he was out with injury. So to me, I felt like there might have been a rematch between Ospreay and Danielson, maybe not necessarily at Double or Nothing, but maybe in a couple weeks leading to Double or Nothing. So to see Bryan Danielson a part of this storyline with the Elite, it kind of threw me off. Now, Eddie Kingston, I know people could say the same thing about Kingston, but my issue, the thing that I think about with Kingston is, to me, Kingston does represent AEW. And to me, he is a sounding board and a mouthpiece for AEW. He always has been since he's been with AEW since the very beginning. Now, I know Bryan Danielson has a lot of backstage roles within the company. I understand that. But to me, the FTR and the Young Bucks, it writes itself. Then that stems from all the way back to last year with All In, and obviously the video package that was played from the All In brawl between Phil Brooks and Jack Perry. It all kind of just came together. But I don't know how Bryan Danielson fits into that storyline, in my honest opinion. And it might be a hot take for most people, but that's just my honest opinion. But my thing is after this match in Anarchy in the Arena, where do we go from here? You know, I know a lot of people were speculating that Tony Khan was going to bring in an on-air GM to be there to kind of run the show while Tony Khan is in Jacksonville and trying to recover in Jacksonville. It's been 2 weeks now, and we have got nothing for an on-air GM. You know, and if there were going to be a suggestion for an on-air GM, I would have been pointing the finger towards Scott D'Amore. And I mentioned this last week, that Scott D'Amore, there's no kind of BS going on behind the scenes with Scott D'Amore, and everything is good, then Scott D'Amore, to me, would be a top candidate to be an on-air GM for AEW. But that right now doesn't seem to be the case, as far as I'm concerned. But my thing is where does this storyline go? And I think, unfortunately, AEW is kind of pigeonholing themselves right now just sorely on the storyline. The other thing I want to talk about, which I can't even express how much that this needs to just end, Chris Jericho. Jericho last night in that whole match was awful. And that's me putting it politely. This Jericho shit's not working. It's just not. And I have the utmost respect for Jericho and what he's done in his career. Jericho is a household name. Whether you like him or you hate him, Jericho is a household name. The guy has wrestled all over the world, every single promotion that you can imagine, whether it be obviously WWE, ECW, WCW, AEW. He's wrestled with Smoky Mountain. I mean, the guy has wrestled every single promotion that you can honestly think of, besides, you know, promotions back in the day like NWA or Mid-South and stuff like that, or, you know, I mean, let's be real. But to be honest, and he's wrestled in Japan. So, I mean, my thing, Jericho has had a hell of a career. But I feel like at this point, the well has run dry for Jericho. This learning tree shit's not working. You know, obviously, okay, you join the likes of Big Bill. But if I'm not mistaken, the last time we seen, wasn't Big Bill and Ricky Starks beefing with Jericho and Sammy Guevara? That was the last storyline that Starks had with Big Bill. Where the hell was Ricky Starks? Unless he's injured and I don't know about it, but to me, where the hell is this? You know, like, that storyline's not even finished, in my honest opinion, between Jericho and Big Bill and the Ricky Starks deal, in my honest opinion. So, to me, the Jericho experience is not there anymore. And the match last night and the interview with Tony Schiavone, it just was awful. It's not needed. I understand if you want to, you know, teach younger talent and enhance younger talent. I get that. And he was doing that with Hook. But to be honest with you, I don't think Hook really truly needed it. I think Hook was already over, not only in AEW, but as a babyface. You know, the fans loved Hook. And they still love Hook. And they gravitate towards Hook. But I know a lot of people have been speculating the fact that the reason why Hook dropped that belt is that Hook will possibly entertain free agency and possibly go over to NXT. You know, it's been speculated now for the past couple weeks that, you know, Hook will entertain free agency and see what he can get out of the deal, whether it be from AEW or NXT or New Japan or TNA. I can't necessarily blame Hook because the way they're booking Hook, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if he can go to NXT and really make a name for himself, I'm not against it. I'm not. If Shawn Michaels can utilize him correctly and actually treat Hook as a top talent, why not? I'm not against that. I'm not, because I'm not with the tribalism shit. I'm just not. I'm not for all team AEW. Yes, I cover AEW, but doesn't mean I'm all in for AEW. No, man. I mean, I want people in both, whether it's WWE or AEW, to prosper no matter where they go. There's no tribalism here. You know, people, you know, shit on Cody because Cody had left. I'm a big fan of Cody Rhodes. I think the Rhodes family is awesome. I'm a big fan of Dusty Rhodes. But am I gonna hate on Cody Rhodes for leaving AEW to better his life and make a better name for himself somewhere else? And I mean, look at all the shit that Cody Rhodes has done just in his 2-year tenure in WWE. He's current world champion. He beat Roman Reigns when Roman Reigns was undefeated for a couple years holding that belt. I mean, he was breaking records. So nah, man. I mean, you got to respect what the man's done since he's been with WWE. I mean, look at Jade Cargill. I mean, yes, AEW, and you can't necessarily blame Tony Khan on that. Tony Khan brought Jade in. I got a lot of eyeballs on Jade Cargill. She had the undefeated streak until she lost to Statlander with the TBS Championship, but Tony Khan had nothing else more for Jade. Now she goes over to WWE, and she's a household name right now. I would say household name, but she is a predominant name in that women's division right now. Her name's getting out there. She's the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champion with Bianca Belair. She just won that match against the Kabuki Warriors at Backlash in France, which, by the way, if you guys saw Backlash at France, the crowd in France was absolutely incredible, man. That was the best fans I've ever seen for any kind of pay-per-view in my entire life. It was awesome. But you can't sit here and say, okay, well, if Hook goes to WWE, they're not going to do shit with him. I can't see that. I really can't. I think Hook, whether he stays with AEW or goes to WWE, I'm not going to shit on it because at the end of the day, it's the best for both worlds. I mean, people said the same thing about when Tony Khan was bringing all these WWE people over. Oh, this is going to be the same old shit back and forth, yada, yada, yada. It's not, though. Look at Adam Copeland last night. To me, honestly, and this might be a hot take for a lot of Edge fans out here, but the body of work that Copeland has put in over these past few months has been way better than his last 2 years in WWE, in my honest opinion. That Judgment Day shit did not work with Copeland. It didn't. It was a failed experiment, and it did not work. I mean, Copeland said the same thing. That whole storyline with the Judgment Day, it was running stale. And there was nothing else left for Edge to do in WWE if he wanted to sign on for another 3 to 5 years. There's nothing left for him. He was not beating Roman Reigns. That was not happening. So, I mean, even with the storyline now with the House of Black, you look at Adam Copeland, and my initial thought last night, even after the vignette that was played by Malachi Black, it does seem to me that Malachi Black and the House of Black are trying to recruit Adam Copeland to turn heel and possibly join the House of Black. I'm not against it. I'm not. The only thing I hate about the House of Black is that we don't see Malachi Black really in singles matches, which I think is complete bullshit. That's the only thing I hate about the House of Black. But like I said earlier, man, I mean, it's the Jericho shit. It's run its course, and that's just the bottom line of it. If you're a Jericho fan, hey, it is what it is, man. I have all the respect in the world for Chris Jericho, and I respect the fact that at times he tries to, enhance, if you will, or bring up the younger talent and get their name out there. I'm all for that. I think Jericho's great for that. I think Jericho would be a great agent for WWE and recruit talent. Absolutely. Absolutely. But as far as the in-ring stuff for Jericho, the well's run dry, man. There's nothing else left for Jericho. And it's starting to show. Day in, week by week, it's just progressively getting worse. And there's just nothing there. And the fans are starting to say the same shit that I'm saying, that we're getting tired of seeing Jericho doing the same shit that he's doing every week. It just does not add up. I mean, you can only, the well is running dry, man. You can't, I mean, at this point, you're running out of water. There's nothing else left for you to do. But all in all, I think Dynamite last night, was it a W show? No. I personally don't think it was. I think the best thing that we got with AEW for the past couple weeks has been the Elite. And underneath that, I would put Swerve. But the problem with Swerve is like after he had that big accomplishment by becoming the new AEW World Champion, I felt like they didn't know what the hell to do with Swerve. You have him, beat Samoa Joe, and then you have him in a title eliminator match against Kyle Fletcher? Come on, man. This is the same, that is the same shit that I done said, and I said this countless times, man. When you had that great storyline with Wardlow and MJF, and then Wardlow finally beats MJF, and then Wardlow's first match after beating MJF in that great storyline is, we're going to throw Wardlow against JD Drake. Get the hell out of here with that. The fact of the matter is I don't know if Tony Khan has a writing team. I don't even know that even exists for AEW at this point. But they need to switch shit up. It's just not needed. Because like I said, man, with the injuries that they have right now, and after the Anarchy in the Arena match, what else is next? And, I mentioned this last week or 2 weeks ago, about this storyline that, some people might be jumping the gun on this whole, a lot of resemblance between AEW and WCW and the NWO and shit like that. But I'm not going to say you guys are completely wrong on that. Because, to me, watching old WCW stuff, it does look like a War Games kind of deal, to be honest with you, in some small ways. And a lot of people have been mentioning to me that I've talked to that the product that AEW is putting out now has a lot of resemblance to what WCW was doing in the late 90s, like 99, up until the time they closed doors up to 2001, which ain't good. I mean, if you guys watched WCW back in the day from 99 to 2001, those Nitros and Thunders were horrendous. Like, it was bad. Now, AEW, obviously in the first 2 years, I would say 2.5 years, firing on all cylinders. I mean, every single thing from the mission statement from the Bucks to Cody about changing the world, and that's exactly what these men and women did. But man, they have took their foot off the gas pedal and just put it on cruise control, and don't worry, and they don't give a shit about anything else. And it shows. The product is declining. The ratings, I mean, I'm not a big ratings guy. I'm not. And I've said that I don't give a shit about the ratings, but the ratings are shown. And unfortunately, for the TV execs and Time Warner, does it matter? Hell yeah. Absolutely it matters. You know, there was news yesterday that Warner Brothers Discovery were signing a deal with Disney and Hulu and making this humongous bundle of stuff, and the TV rights deal is coming up for AEW here soon. Yes, it matters. To Time Warner and Warner Media, yeah, it does matter. Because if they're not making revenue and they're not getting the ratings, there's a good chance that maybe, who knows, Time Warner and Warner Media might want to get the hell out of the wrestling business and drop AEW. It's a very good possibility because their TV rights deal is coming up, I believe, by the end of the year. So, yeah, I mean, and I mentioned multiple things about AEW that needs to happen. And the biggest one that needs to happen is AEW needs to lock in a streaming deal. Because do I think they're going to go to a 12 pay-per-view format? It's possible. I can easily see about 10 or 11. We're at, 8 or 9 now? Yeah. I can see them at another pay-per-view. If you're going to do that, then we need to have a streaming service because, I'm sorry, man, you can't expect, every single month for people to, pay out $50 to watch this pay-per-view, and the pay-per-view's absolute shit. Now, do I think Double or Nothing is shit? No, I don't. I think Double or Nothing, I'm actually excited for Double or Nothing this year, and I'm excited for Forbidden Door. And the reason why I'm excited for Forbidden Door is I'm hoping that a lot of these people that are injured are coming back by then because it's in June. And the fact that this year's Forbidden Door is not only just AEW versus New Japan. They're trying to get AEW versus New Japan versus CMLL versus Stardom, which would be a huge, huge night. I'm thinking there's going to be 12 matches easily, 13 matches on that pay-per-view that night. And it's great for the women, especially when it pertains to Stardom. Great. The best versus the best. You got New Japan. You have, obviously, CMML. Why not? I'm looking forward to those two pay-per-views. I'm looking forward to. But right now, it's just, I feel like in some small ways, and this might be a hot take, but AEW also kind of is losing their direction. You know what I mean? Like, they're not, it's, okay, well, it's this Elite and Tony Khan shit, and that's it. Okay, fine. And now we know the final product is going to be a match between Team AEW versus the Elite at Double or Nothing in Anarchy in the Arena. Okay, fine. But when that match is all said and done, what happens next? We're back to square one again. Tony Khan comes back. Is, the Elite going to get reprimanded for the attack that they had on Tony Khan? We don't know. We have no idea. Now, do I appreciate the Elite continuing the storyline? Yes. Because unfortunately they have to, because there is no other choice. Because right now AEW is not doing shit right now. And that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, I mean, at the end of the day, it's sad, man. It really is. And to me, I'm going to side with y'all. I do feel at times that AEW does start to feel like WCW in the late 90s, 99 through 2001, because you see it in the shows, man. You had like Jericho, and I can't say this enough. Jericho, it's over. There's nothing else more for this man to do. You're going to bring in Big Bill to what? The guy's been wrestling for a while now. He was on the main scene with WWE. He's done a hell of a job since he's been with AEW. What more do you have to teach this man as far as the learning tree is concerned for you to team up with Big Bill? And again, where the hell is Ricky Starks? Is he injured? You know what I mean? Like, is he out with injury, or is he out because Tony Khan has no direction right now with Ricky Starks? That's bullshit. Ricky Starks is a household name. You can have Ricky come in as a major heel or a major babyface. Come on. He's a household name. And I told you guys before, I think guys like Ricky Starks and Wardlow are on the short track list to WWE. I do. Because Tony Khan and AEW have no idea what the hell they're doing with with this talent. And they got the talent. That's the crazy thing about it. When you look at it from top to bottom, whether it's men, whether it's women, the roster is stacked. It's stacked. But I feel like Tony Khan just, okay, I'm going to put, the A wrestler versus the B wrestler. No storyline, no build. And if you look back on it, QT Marshall had mentioned this when he had left AEW before he came back, that he had mentioned that AEW was going into a format, much more like what, Pro Wrestling Noah is, or All Japan Pro Wrestling, where there's not going to be a whole lot of storylines around AEW's product. And it's going to be more tournament-based or more in-your-face wrestling. And I'll give them credit. Yeah, it's probably some of the best wrestling that we're getting around the world with AEW. But fans want storyline. They want build. They want something to grab their attention. Will Ospreay is probably the best wrestler right now on the planet, in my opinion. Say what you want, but Ospreay is on a whole other level. And I'm not the only one saying that. Ospreay is a once-in-a-generation generational talent. He is, athletic, acrobatic. The moveset that he has is incredible. And every single time this guy steps in the ring, he puts on bangers. From the match he had with Bryan Danielson, banger. To the match he had with Konosuke Takeshita, banger. Like, this guy can't miss. So, to me, and I mentioned this multiple times about Will Ospreay, I do think eventually Will Ospreay will be the ace of AEW. And I think Ospreay's even mentioned that he wants to take AEW global. I'm all for it. And I mentioned this multiple times about AEW's pay-per-views. Can we not keep going to the same damn location every single time, every year for these pay-per-views? Double or Nothing, Vegas. All In. Let's go to London. Let's go to Wembley Stadium. Full Gear, New Jersey. Usually at the Prudential Center. So, can we change? Can we get other locations? That's the biggest thing, and I think that's a downfall for AEW. I really, truly do. I think if things don't change, it is going to hurt the company. And like I told you guys earlier, before I went on this little tiny rant, that there are certain individuals, both men and women, that have been sorely, sorely missed in AEW. MJF, number one. And I know he's out with injury and he had surgery on his shoulder and stuff like that, and I understand that. But the man is sorely missed on AEW television. Absolutely. Adam Cole, another one. Darby Allin, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter. Julia Hart, she's out with injury. These names need to come back into AEW and bring back into the fold. Because right now they need this. Like, the AEW desperately needs this. Adam Page, where the hell is Adam Page at? Ricky Starks. Sammy Guevara. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to reprimand Sammy Guevara because of the incident with Jeff Hardy. Okay. When are we going to see Sammy Guevara? You know what I mean? Like, it just... I do believe that Tony Khan does have his select favorites. I'm going to say that probably to the end of AEW. Or to the, forever. Because I do believe that he has his select favorites. I really do. And it's a shame, man. It really is a shame. But right now, the best storyline going right now is the Elite versus Team AEW. And to me, it has WCW, aura, if you will, around it. Absolutely. Because I feel like we've seen this shit before. I feel like even in WCW, we've seen this. We've seen Team WCW versus the NWO. If I'm not mistaken, it was a War Games matchup where I think it was Kurt Hennig was the wild card and turned his back on Team WCW and then ended up joining NWO or something like that. Like, there's a lot of similarities here and resemblance to WCW. And even Tony Khan had mentioned back in the day that he wanted his dad to buy WCW. So obviously, Tony Khan was a fan of the WCW's product. And I was too. But this has a lot of resemblance, especially with Team AEW versus the Elite. Has a lot of resemblance to what WCW was doing with Team WCW versus the NWO. It has a lot of resemblance to it. And really didn't work out for WCW then, so I don't know how it's going to work out for AEW now. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, yeah, sure, you can take snippets of each company and stuff like that and kind of make it your own if it makes sense, but, I don't know. I think, this Elite thing versus Team AEW might backfire, possibly, with AEW. 100%. Because like I told you guys, man, I'm all for the members they selected for Team AEW. I think FTR is a great selection. Obviously, the storyline's there in itself between FTR and the Young Bucks. It writes itself. And then you have Eddie Kingston. And I know some people are like, well, I don't know why you're so hard on Bryan Danielson about him being on this team. Well, it's not that I'm pissed about Danielson being a part of this team. The reason why I'm not opposed to Eddie Kingston is because, to me, I feel like Eddie Kingston is the spokesperson for AEW because he's been a flag bearer of this company since he's been with AEW. In my honest opinion, he has great mic skills. He's a great wrestler. And I feel like when that guy grabs a microphone, you're going to want to listen. And this match fits Eddie Kingston perfectly. Bryan Danielson, the reason why I'm confused with Danielson is because he had no ties at all to the Elite. At all. I mean, the last match he had was that dream match with Ospreay. So I figured he would try to have a rematch with Ospreay. Like I said, not necessarily at Double or Nothing because Ospreay has a match already at Double or Nothing going up against Roderick Strong for the International Championship. So to me, it's, I don't know. To me, it's just that's the best thing going right now with AEW. But do I think last night's show was a humongous win? No. I thought last night's show was awful. I truly did. Because right now, the only thing that AEW truly has right now is the storyline between the Elite and Team AEW. And they're going to ride this storyline all the way up until May 26th at Double or Nothing. It's the only thing they have right now. The only thing I would have done is I would have replaced Bryan Danielson and put in Adam Page. And it would have been Page, Kingston, FTR versus the Elite. That's how I would have booked Anarchy in the Arena for Double or Nothing. Absolutely. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful and remember,